Good morning, students. Today we will discuss about the agents of pollination. So in the last class you came to know what do you mean by pollination and what are the kinds of pollination. So here we are going to discuss about the kinds, different agents of the pollination. See here, agents of of pollination are pollinators. Agents of pollination are pollinators. Okay, here the agent of pollination is of two types. What are that means? First is abiotic and another is the biotic one. By abiotic means non-living agents. Okay, that is the living agents. Then here, in abiotic there are two types of agents are there. That is, one is water and the second is the wind. Okay, then here biotic means here the living organisms are going to act as an pollinators, and in that, which is that particular living organism means that is the animals. Okay, so these are the different agents of the pollination. And one more thing here, whatever the pollination which is taking place by wind, the type of pollination, it is also known as the anemophily. What it is known as? It is also known as the anemophily, the pollination which is taking place by wind or air. Okay, the next here, the pollination which is taking place by water, the type of pollination is also known as the hydrophyte. What it is also known as? It is also known as the hydrophyte. And the pollination which is taking place by animals, that is known as the zoophily. Animals, that is known as the zoophily. Three different types of pollinators: anemophily, hydrophily, and one more, that is zoophily. So first we will see about the first type of pollinators or pollinating agent, that is the anemophily. First one, that is anemophily. Okay, or else we can say that is pollination by wind or air. Okay, so here anemophily, as I told you, it is the pollination by wind. It is very common as compared to the other pollinators. Okay, among wind, water, and what we call animals, which is a common pollinators means that is the pollination by wind, because air, you can say in all the angiosperms, or you can say in gymnosperms also, the air is going to take all the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. So what is the most common pollination agent? Means that is the wind. So here the wind pollinated flowers are known as the flowers which are going to pollinated by wind or air. That flowers are known as the antemophilous flowers. What it is known as? Sorry, anemophilous flowers. Flowers pollinated by wind. That flowers are known as the anemophilous flowers. See, in 2 mark question, how the question will be asked means, what are the adaptations of anemophilous flowers? Okay, don't be in confusion. What do you mean by anemophilous flowers? Okay, so anemophilous flowers means, that is the flowers which are going to pollinate it specifically with wind or air. Such type of flowers are known as the anemophilous flowers. Okay, so here there are certain adaptations are there. What are there? Certain adaptations. For what? For this pollination by wind. So let's see what are the adaptations. In that first one, the pollen grains should be small in size. Whatever the pollen grains will be there, pollen grains should be small in size. Okay, small in size and without color, color and without smell. Okay, and honey. There should be not, or there will be no honey or nectar is going to produce. In such a flowers, the wind is going to pollinate the flowers. Okay, in that condition, what should be the pollen grains? How it should be the pollen grains? So, the pollen grains should be first small in size, should be small in size. This is one character or adaptation. Okay, why the pollen grains should be small in size means it can easily fly away from one flower to another flower. That is the reason the pollen grains should be small and without color. There should be no color because wind are not going to attract towards the flowers. Okay, as insects or other animals are going to attract it towards the flowers. Here, no need of attraction, no need of color. No any other attractive colors will be there. Then there will be no smell, no nectar or honey is going to produce. This is first adaptation. Second adaptation, overproduction of pollen grains. Whatever the flowers which are undergoing into the pollination by winds, that pollen grains should be overproduced. Means it should be more and more in number. Overproduction of pollen grains. It should be more in number. If pollen grains are more in number, okay, the wind can fly it or the air can take that pollen grains to the some other flowers. Okay, one example is there for this overproduction of pollen grains, that is cannabis. A single flower of cannabis how many pollen grains it is going to produce means that it is 5 lakhs pollen grains are going to produce. So this is one example of what? Overproduction of pollen grains. The next, this is one character. The next character or next adaptation, pollen grains should be light, or the pollen grains are light in weight. They should not be heavy. It should be light, dry, sticky, so that it can easily stick to the stigma. Dry, sticky and rough. The surface of the pollen grain should be rough. Okay, this is one adaptation. And in some plants, the pollen grains will be winged. The pollen grains will have the wings so that it can easily fly. Okay, in some pollen grains are winged so that it can easily fly away from one flower to another flower. Then the last adaptation, which is very important adaptation, see here. Wind pollinated flowers are often small. In first only I had told you. And always the wind pollinated flowers or the anemophilous flowers will have only one ovule. How many? That it is only one ovule or a single ovule in each ovary. Okay. Wind pollinated flowers. See, this question will be asked for 2 marks. What are the adaptation of anemophilous flower or anemophily? At that time, you have to write any 4 characters or 4 adaptations. Each will carry the half marks. Okay. In short also, you can write here, wind pollinated flowers are small with a single ovule in ovary. Okay, it will be having only one single ovule in ovary, and numerous flowers are packed into an inflorescence, or whatever the arrangement will be there. At one point only, many flowers will be packed like this. Okay, where if such arrangement is there of the flowers, so when wind is going to or air current is going to flow, at that time this will, what we call, all pollen grains from this bunch of flower is going to fly away. Okay, so that is also one example. And the next, wind pollinated, what are the examples of this wind pollinated? In which type of crops or in which type of plants this wind type of wind pollination is common with? It is common in wind pollination is common in maize, wheat, paddy and grasses. Paddy and grasses. Okay, so these are some of the crops in which the wind pollination is common. These are the examples of wind pollinators. The next, second type of pollinators, that is the hydrophily. Okay, what it is? Pollination by water. So let's see that one. In that, second one, that is hydrophyll. Hydrophyll means pollination by water. Okay, so here, see, pollination by water is quite rare. It is not common, but pollination by wind or air, that is very common. Okay, among the flowering plants or among the gymnosperms or non-flowering plants. So here, among the flowering plants, there are about 30 aquatic genera of plants are there. How many? 30 aquatic means among the flowering plants, 30 genera, different genera which will belong to the different genera, they are aquatic means they are surviving in the water. Their habitat is water. So in among them, mostly they will be monocotyledons. Okay, you know the difference between the dicot and the monocot. So some of the water pollinated flowers, by taking the examples of the plants, they had explained how the water pollination is going to take place. So here some of the water pollinated plants are water pollinated plants are, that it is Vallisneria, Hydrilla, Vallisneria, Hydrilla. See, from this pollination, I told you one 3-mark question or 2-mark question. Compulsory it will come for your theory exam. Okay, most of the time they had asked for 2 marks, that is adaptation of wind pollinated flowers. Most of the time they also asked a question on this water pollinated plants by giving a specific names of the plants. Okay, explain the water pollination in Vallisneria or Hydrilla. Like that they had asked for 3 marks. So this question may ask for 3 marks. Okay, so here some of the water pollinated plants are Vallisneria and Hydrilla, which grows in the fresh water. Which grows in fresh water. Along with these plants, there are certain other plants which grows in the marine water. They are sea grasses, such as zeus. These names are very important. Okay, sea grasses such as zeus. One more is there, Ceratophyllum. Zeus and Ceratophyllum. These plants are, these plants grows in marine water. Okay, see, water pollination can take place in the fresh water as well as in the marine water. See, not all aquatic plants show water pollination. Why means here in plants like water hyacinth and water lily, in plants like water hyacinth and water lily. See here what I am telling. Not all aquatic plants are going to show what hydrophily or pollination by water. Some of them are going to show, or some of them are adapted for what? For pollination by air or pollination by insects or the animals. Among that, one example is there, that is water hyacinth and water lily. See here, if this is the water and This water hyacinth and water lily are the floating plants. They are not submerged in the water. Whatever the flowers will be there of the water hyacinth, it will be above the water level. Okay. For example, this is water lily. This is female reproductive structure or female flower, and this is the male flower. You can see this is the water level. They are aquatic plants. Yes, they are aquatic plants, but their reproductive structures are above the, or flowers are above the water level, so that the water cannot pollinate them because it is away from the surface of the water. So here, who is going to pollinate them means, that is insects or birds, flies. Okay, insects, birds, or air. That is the reason I am telling not all aquatic plants are adapted for water pollination. Okay, some of the plants which are floating on the above level or above surface of the water, their plants are undergoing into what, which pollination? That is pollination by insects or birds or air. Okay, this is about the water hyacinth and water lily. So next we will see how pollination is taking place in valleys area. Okay, see here. See, valleys area, this is one of the submerged hydrophytes. What it is? It is one of the submerged hydrophyte. What do you mean by submerged hydrophyte? Means it is totally submerged in the water. They are not floating above the surface of the water. For example, this is the water body. This is the water. Okay, here the plants, how it will be means the plants will be like this, totally submerged in the water. That's why we are calling them as the submerged hydrophyte. So here the pollen, this valleys area, first of all, it is one of the submerged hydrophyte, and these are the dioecious plants. What do you mean by dioecious plants? The male and the female reproductive structures are present in different individual. Okay, it is not present in single individual, but in different individual. So this is also very important for what? For understanding the pollination by water in valleys area. So here these are the dioecious plants. The next the female flower. For example, this is the female flower. This one is the female flower. Here I will draw stigma. Okay, this is, you can see, this is the stigma. Female flower means, for example, this is the female flower. Okay, where in valleys area, the female flower reach the surface of the water, but they are not going to above the water, but only they will reach the surface of the water. You can see, only it's reaching till the surface, but not above the surface or water level. So here it will having this flowers of valleys area will have a long stalk. That is the reason that female flower is going to reach the water surface, and male flowers are going to release. For example, this is the male flower with anther. This one is the male flower. Okay, it will not reach. It will be present as a submerged only when these are going to release the pollen grains. For example, this is a pollen grains. Okay, so this pollen grains by the water current, it will travel or it will pass till the stigma. Then it will reach to the stigma and pollination is going to occur. Understood? See, what is the thing? What are the adaptations over here means? The first adaptation that the plants are the dioecious. The female flower reach the surface of female flower reach the surface of water. This is one thing. If it is reaching till the surface, then only the pollen grains can come, swim and come, and it can pollinate the female flowers. This is one thing. Then second thing, the male flowers are released on the surface of water. The male flowers releases the pollen grains. Release pollen grains on surface of water. This is one thing. Okay, so these are carried passively by the water currents. Pollen grains are carried passively by, without any energy, it is going to flow passively by water currents. Okay, this is one thing. And the floating male flower come in contact with the stigma of the female flower, and the anther bursts some of the pollen grains which are sticky. It will stick on the stigma of the female flower. So, if they ask, explain the pollination in valleys and area, if you write this much points, you can score 3 marks. Okay. The next, this is one example of what? Freshwater plant. One more example I will explain, that is by taking a marine water plant. That is, one example is the zeus. That is seagrass, which is also known as the seagrass. So let's see about that one. Sometimes they will ask, explain pollination in vallis. Sometimes they will ask, explain pollination in zeus. So zeus, pollination in zeus, that is also very important question. Zeus, which is also known as the sea grasses, which is one of the marine plants. What it is? It is one of the marine plants. So here, zeus produces. It is also one of the submerged plant, not floating on the surface of the water level. Okay, as you had studied in vallis area, it is also one of the submerged plant. So here, zeus produces pollen grains, and these pollen grains have certain adaptations. What are that? Means pollen grains which are long, elongated, needle-like. Pollen grains which are long, elongated, and needle-like. Means it will be very thin. How the pollen grains of the what we call zeus means it will be long, elongated like this, elongated and similar to the needle. Okay, needle-like. So here they don't have any exine layer. Okay, you had studied in the structure of pollen grains there will be two wall layers, exine and intine. So these pollen grains will not have any exine layer. Without exine. Okay, the next these pollen grains will float below the surface of water. Okay, then when they touch the stigma of the female flower, they will coil around that particular stigma. See here how it will be. This is the water body. How the pollen grains will be there means this is the seagrass or Zostera, female plant or female flower, stigma, and male flower, this is the anther. Whatever the pollen grains they are going to release is long, elongated and needle-like without exine. When they come in contact with the stigma, they will coil around it. Okay, when they are going to touch the stigma, at that time, whatever the elongated needle-like pollen grains will be there, they are going to coil like this. Okay, see here, without exine. So, when pollen grains comes in contact with the stigma, it will coil around it. So this is about the pollination in Zostera or seagrass. But one more example is there, that is keratophyllum. Okay, we will see about that one, which is the last example. Next, that is keratophyllum. This is also one of the marine water plant. What it is? That is the keratophyllum. Here, keratophyllum produces male flower. It produces male flower, and this male flower will have around 30 to 45 stamens. How many? 30 to 45 stamens. Many number of stamens will be there. Then the mature anther cut at the base, rise upward, reach the surface of the water, and then it is going to be a size. What happens means, if this is the water body, and here these are the, what is that, keratophyllum. Okay, this is the male flower. Okay, so totally the anther is going to cut when the flower is going to mature. Totally the anther will get detached from the main flower, and it is going to float on the surface of the water. Okay. The next, when it comes to the surface, at that time it gets deacids. Deacids means the wall layer of the anthers are going to disrupt. Okay. Then it will release the pollen grains. What it will do? It will release the pollen grains. Then these female flowers, whatever the female flowers will be there, it will be having a long style or style. So the next stigma will always at the surface of the water. Then it will go and it will affect the pollination, or pollination is going to take place. Where? In Keratophyllum. Okay. So here these pollen grains in most of the water pollinated flowers. See, whatever the water pollinated flowers will be there, in them water pollinated flowers, what are the adaptations of these water pollinated flower system? It will be small, colorless. They don't have any color, small, colorless, odorless and nectarless. Odorless and nectarless. This is one adaptation. Second adaptation, the pollen grains are protected from wetting. See here, one more very important point. The pollen grains are covered by a covering, protective covering, and that protective covering is known as the mucilaginous covering. Okay. See here, pollen grains are protected from wetting. Why? From what it is going to protect means the pollen grain should not become wet by water. Okay. Protected by wetting by a mucilaginous cover. These are the adaptations of what? Of wind pollinated, sorry, water pollinated flowers. The next, that is zoophily, that I will continue in the next class. Okay, thank you.